Hi, I'm Donuts.
With an I'm
This is
Wool.
my recap for the anime
Deranged Detective. If you like my recaps,
Please consider subscribing. The story begins as a woman
who is a bit too generous with some lipstick,
named Emma Maya
is furious to hear that there has been a fifth victim, and the culprit has the same mo.
She urgently instructs her investigators
Expand
to
the scope of the investigation,
but turns to her protagonist
named
Till Tomorrow
and tells them that he can just go home and sleep. To Tomorrow portrays a tireless warrior
by explaining that he is completely capable
of working through 2 nights in a row,
and he can power through how tired he is.
Emma Maya doesn't want to be misunderstood and ruthlessly explains that someone as useless as
Hanging
him
around
will only make things harder.
Afterwards, a man named Kiko
sympathizes with the discount detective. Since a Tomorrow doesn't show some results
He
soon,
might
get kicked out of Investigation Division 1.
Kiku reminds Tomorrow
how much of a garbage detective he is, since he was once fooled by a culprit
and let
them get away 3 times.
As if that wasn't bad enough,
Tomorrow has also had the cops called on
after
him he went into a neighborhood after
to
dark
get some statements.
Kiku likes how earnest Tomorrow is, but points out that side of him
a
makes
terrible detective.
Tomorrow shows that he isn't a terrible person though,
As he points out
that all the citizens are terrified
with
with the serial murders going on, and it's agonizing for him to just stand by.
the old man clearly has something planned
when
he strangely licks his fingers to
out
point
that there are already 5 victims, and there haven't been
any significant developments in the investigation.
Division 1 is clearly having trouble, so he thinks that there is only one
who
person
can crack the case.
This person is a bit of a sleuth, and he's definitely not an ordinary detective. Tomorrow goes to the guy's apartment and admires how sleek the sleuth looks in a picture. The sleuth works as the building manager, so Tomorrow wonders if it's because his detective business isn't doing so well. Tomorrow goes to ring the bell,
But is shocked to hear a voice say,
"Don't get your hopes up." A second attempt at the bell,
and the voice says,
"Do it yourself."
Tomorrow's confusion only upsets the voice,
since it doesn't like that kind attitude from someone asking him for a favor. The voice tells him to go back to the shrine and ask the gods for help again. Tomorrow has no clue how the voice knew that he did that, and the voice tells him to go away. Tomorrow explains that Kiko sent him, which gets the guy to come out, but Tomorrow is shocked by his look. This guy has a clump of seaweed where his hair should be, and is all tatted up, which is much different from his clean past. Not only that, his eyes are completely dead now. They don't even reflect light anymore.
And even a dead fish's eyes do that. So Tomorrow
welcomes himself inside the guy's apartment and wonders if the guy's cat is dead.
It's not. And the guy
named Komonaha. She explains that he went to school with Kiko's son. Kiku was worried that Komonahashi just
crying
sits around
all day, and he can't say
it isn't true. Tomorrow panics when Komonahashi smashes his face into the ground, but realizes that the floor is covered in cushions. Komonahashi explains that it's his floor of laziness,
and it
knows his daily routine of despair and boredom. Komonahashi doesn't have a TV,
internet, or even a cell phone. Nothing good comes from the outside,
so he cut off the world.
He is completely withdrawn
and claims that he has hit the depths of despair. He tries to get rid of Tomorrow so he can continue enjoying his floor of laziness, but Tomorrow tells them that he needs something. Komonahashi refuses without even hearing what it is, and explains that he isn't the first to come to him. Kiko sent others to be his partner as well.
Young, brilliant officers,
only interested in promotions. He turned them all away after knocking them down a peg. It's clear that Kiko really wants to help him make a comeback, but Komonahashi reveals that he is not a detective anymore. Tomorrow tries to tell him about the murders, but Komonahashi just screams
really
loudly to drown them out. Tomorrow points out that he's trying to say something,
but come on,
how she tells him
that's
that,
fine,
since he's trying to keep him from
anyway,
talking. Still, not moving a single inch from his glorious floor of laziness. Komonahashi explains that he doesn't
anything
want to do with unsolved cases
and refuses to listen.
Tomorrow points out that people's lives are on the line,
but the
loving jerk states that it's not his problem. Tomorrow concludes that Kimonohashi's way to depressed, and there's no way he would be able to deduce anything.
Komona,
how she's glad to see him leaving,
and tells to Tomorrow
that he's better off asking the gods for help anyway. Tomorrow wonders how he knew about the shrine, and this is where we get our first glimpse of Komona.
How she's brilliance.
He points out the pine pollen on Tomorrow's shoulder,
and explains
that he could only have gotten that from a path near the shrine. Tomorrow's an open can of coffee in his pocket, and jangly of the change in his other pocket, made him realize that Tomorrow broke a bill in order to offer a coin to the gods
at the shrine.
Of course, Todomaro was amazed by his deduction skills. But Kemonohashi doesn't stop there. The lazy genius uses several of Todomara's behaviors to deduce that he was raised by his grandparents. He's also able to tell that Todomara's worried about getting fired, which is why he came for help. Kemonohashi, seemingly unable to put a stop to his godlike detective skills, keeps going. But Todamura stops listening since he's already convinced that way too depressed guy might be able to solve the case. Unfortunately, Kemonohashi continues to refuse. So Todamura comes up with a brilliant idea to yell the case details as loud as he can. His genius plan is foiled though when he notices that Kemonohashi earplugs on. Todamara desperately pleads with him, but everything stops when Todamara gets a call from his boss. Kemonohashi takes his earplugs out to tell him not to take calls there, but it's too late. Amami explains that there has been a sixth victim, and their body was found at a park in Shibuya. To tomorrow, the closest, so she rushes him to investigate. He prepares to leave, but is shocked as something strange begins to happen to Kemonohashi. Kemonohashi explains that once he learns about a case, he can't hold himself back any longer, but he can't be allowed to solve cases anymore. He states that of course, he wants to be a detective. Unraveling mysteries and solving cases is what gives meaning to his life. Not being able to makes him feel like he's going to go insane. That's why he cut himself off from the world, avoided people, and lived as a hermit by being sleeper. The problem is that he has a fatal flaw as a detective. A truly troublesome one that no doctor has been able to fix. So tomorrow, showing off his probably not so good detective skills, deduces that Kemonohashi must be sick. His body must be incredibly weak and frail, which is why he made the floor out of cushions. Come on, she demands that he leave and states as long as he takes sleeping pills to knock out for 3 days, he will be okay. Tomorrow refuses to leave without him since he doesn't want Kemonohashi to waste his talents and points out that there is nothing important than stopping criminals. Kemonohashi tries to tell him that not the issue, but tomorrow begs for Kemonohashi to trust him and promises to back him up. However, he needs Kemonohashi can't believe how naive he is as he calls him a fool, but does agree to help. However, he tells Todomaro to listen carefully as he explains no matter what, Todomaro cannot take his eyes off of him. Todomaro, clearly oblivious to what's really going on, promises to push Kemonohashi in a wheelchair if he starts feeling sick. Kemono has no clue what he's talking about and informs Todomaro that they will be running to the crime scene. The run has Todomaro questioning his life choices, showcasing his undeniable talent for couch marathons, actual ones, and Kemono. She explains that he stays as a hermit, using the gym he built in his apartment. They are informed that the victim was a private investment broker named Okamasa, and he was on his way to a business party the night before. Kemono then shocks everyone when he gets up close and personal with the stiff. Even more strangely, he begins to speak to it. He asks it how it could drown in a place with no water, and why did he hand his over valuables without a fight. The policeman is shocked since Kemonohashi has no knowledge of the other victims, but seems to know a lot about what happened. Kemonohashi explains that corpses want to talk, and you just have to learn to listen. The white froth on its mouth indicates the possibility of drowning. Clothes show no signs of struggle, and his suit shows that he was wealthy. The tan line his on wrist says that his watch was stolen. Tomorrow seems to just now realize what a good detective looks like, and is amazed to see that he's totally correct. Over the last 9 months, 5 people have been killed at irregular intervals with that exact mo. All their valuables were stolen, but they had no external injuries. Testing revealed no alcohol or drugs in their system, and they were all found drowned in places with no water. Kemonohashi looks at a map showing where the victims were last seen and where they were believed to be going. On it, Earth Day, a celebration, a class reunion, a wedding, and a birthday party. He uses it to narrow down the search area, but tomorrow points out that there's nowhere in that area with enough water to drown in. Still not realizing that he's terrible at his job, he also points out that he can't even think of a place where a grown man can be drowned without him putting up a fight. Luckily for Todomaro, Kemonohashi is useless like him and has thought of a great place where that could happen. He's glad to see that he isn't rusty, even after a 5-year hiatus, and celebrates his new friend. Everyone is shocked to see him be so casual with a dead body, but he explains that it's just his style. He states that if you treat with respect and kindness, the devil opens their hearts to you. Kemonohashi tells that it's time to go and shocks everyone once more when he reveals that it's time to rest the culprit. Tomorrow can't believe he already knows who it is since the police investigated for 9 months and couldn't crack the case. the master of deduction,
explains that that's what he's there for. But tomorrow still can't believe
it took
only
him
like 3 minutes. Kimona
how she calls him Toto
and tells him
get out
to
some money.
as they leave. Moments later,
They're at a clothing store
where Toto finds
himself dressed
like a
up.
pimp. Kimona has, she
The rapper
tells,
wannabe
that he'll
going
be
undercover
as a wealthy man, and they will
also have
do
to
something about
his hideous
head of hair. They go to get
him a haircut,
and tomorrow
states that
he will probably
fall asleep
since he has
2
worked
nights in a row.
Kimona Hashi,
Surprised to hear
that he isn't
the only idiot
that has stayed
2
up,
nights for work,
but recommends that Toto
should stay
awake tomorrow. Begins to think
that Kimona
how she might
a
be
bit
unstable, and wonders
if you should
really be following
what
he says. I guess he just
ignores that feeling
as he heads inside and prepares
for his haircut
by removing
his ridiculous
looking coat. Well,
Hashi
come on,
enjoys some black
sugar syrup
outside the
barber is amazing.
Here,
That
has
Toto
done well
in the stock.